Welcome along to another edition of Shootout, where we debate soccer's biggest and hottest topics with the one, the only, Greg Brady in Canada. And Greg, what seemingly a title race we have in the English Premier League at the moment.
Nothing quite like it before. I heard the stat the other day, and I can't remember who to credit for it. But Steve, feel free to use on your halftimes and your pregames, which are fantastic as always. 8 teams now have been top of the table at some point this season. But one of those teams is not Manchester City. Manchester City is not one of the 8 teams that's been top of the table so far, and they're the odds-on favorites. So, yeah, to say we've had a remarkable season is putting it mildly, and it just keeps going. Games all the time, it feels like.
It's absolutely beautifully poised in the English Premier League. Now, we're asking you this. Is Wayne Rooney the greatest English player of his generation? This week, of course, Greg, we've seen him finally retire from playing because he is the new manager of Championship club Derby County at the age of 35. So, in his generation, is he the best?
I've got one tier that's above the rest, and I'm leaving some pretty legendary players on the second tier. But my tier includes 3 players. I'll lay them out, but I've got the Liverpool legend Steven Gerrard just ahead of Wayne Rooney in terms of overall greatness and effectiveness for his career. And that's a very, very interesting discussion. That's very tough to say. Wayne Rooney's not, given all that he's accomplished, but have to go with Steven Gerrard. What do you say?
This is a fantastic debate, and what a name you've plucked there. And I would never go against Steven Gerrard. Huge admirer of what he did. Wayne Rooney, when you look at club and country, I mean, without me going any further, I'll just throw at you, he is Manchester United's all-time record goal scorer. He is England's all-time record goal scorer. And I tell you what, I don't think he gets the credit for that, Greg. And I think that is part of the debate that we're going to have now.
You know, sometimes we talk about longevity. He is Manchester United's all-time goal scorer. And I look and I say, wow, but even at his best, longevity sometimes is used as a backhanded slap when we talk about, sports figures. Well, he benefits from longevity. But Rooney deserves credit not just for his longevity, but also how remarkable he was in his prime. But I don't think his prime lasted quite as long as Steven Gerrard. I would guide you to the PFA Team of the Year in the Premier League. Year after year, Steven Gerrard was on that list. 8 times he was on that list. Wayne Rooney, 3 times. I don't understand that. In 06, 10, and 12, he was deemed one of the best 2 strikers in the English Premier League. That doesn't seem right. Gerrard's number at 8 seems right. But I'd say this. I know Gerrard doesn't have the trophies. It's hard to quibble. A Champions League title. He was a key factor in that with some FA Cups mixed in, 3 League Cups, some Charity Shields. But of course, the Premier League eluded him. But I just look and I say, I think he was better for longer, Steve. I think he was at a higher plane for longer. I think it's harder to be a midfielder and be at both ends of the pitch and mean so much to your squad longer. We've talked about sort of the hot minutes some strikers get in the Premier League, where the Jimmy Floyd Hasselbanks and the Andy Coles and the Dwight Yorks, and we could keep going, who are just nobody's better, it feels like, for 3 or 4 years. But Rooney was in that class for a good decade and deserves a ton of credit, but I think he falls just shy. I think Steven Gerrard was just a little better and just for a few years longer.
Wayne Rooney, when he signed for Manchester United, and again on that big stage, bang, against Fenerbahce, I was lucky enough to be there, calling the game, the hat-trick on his debut, under the lights at Old Trafford in the Champions League. He was playing with Scholes, he was playing with Giggs, he was playing with Ruud van Nistelrooy, huge names. And then later on in his Manchester United career, with Tevez, with Ronaldo. And on the subject of Ronaldo, you're saying about Steven Gerrard in midfield, you're right, but Wayne Rooney sacrificed, not intentionally, let me tell you, he had many a run-in with Sir Alex Ferguson over this, but sacrificed himself for the team on numerous occasions. In fact, probably for that whole season where they got to the final of the Champions League when they beat Chelsea in Moscow, down the left-hand side. And he didn't just do a job, he did it brilliantly. And he would have, and he would tell you, and his teammates would tell you, probably 30 or 40 more goals off the top of my head if he played centrally in that period instead of on the left-hand side. But that's where the manager wanted him to do a job. That's where he did it. He was the old street fighter, kid footballer when he burst onto the scene with that goal against Arsenal for Everton. It was suggested to me this week that he was overhyped when he came into the Premier League. Not a chance. Everything that was said about Wayne Rooney when he was 16 was absolutely true. He was a phenomenon. He was a one-off. The way he went into men's football as a child and then suddenly went to Manchester United, and everyone thought they were paying over the odds. Look what Manchester United got for their money. Look what he did at the end, Greg. He won the FA Cup as the Manchester United captain under Louis van Gaal, playing centre midfield and running the show at Wembley against Crystal Palace. I think now he's finally called a day on his playing career. I think people will sit and notice and look at conversations like this and realise just how, over a period of time, in so many different positions, in so many different ways, Wayne Rooney helped club and country.
Oh, and that's the thing. I think you nailed it. I think he is almost considered underrated by many Premier League observers, many world football observers, for his leadership and how much he was willing to sacrifice. And yes, being a complete player, which some strikers are not. Who are the best two players Steven Gerrard probably played with? Luis Suarez, great player for a few years there, but only for a few. Fernando Torres, great player for a few years there, only for a few. Gerrard was great for well over a decade at Liverpool. And, you probably thought just like I did when Liverpool won the title after the restart. He's the first person everybody thinks about. It's not an ex-manager. It's not a player from 30, 40 years ago. It's the fact that Steven Gerrard couldn't be on the pitch as a player, but all the close calls that were there for Liverpool faithful to think about with Steven Gerrard leading the way.
I think most football fans would have, except maybe Manchester United and Everton ones, would have wanted Steven Gerrard to win the Premier League. But you've heard Steven Gerrard say he has got regrets. The Premier League is the biggest one, but he should have won more. He was that good a player. But Wayne Rooney probably hasn't got those. Yes, he probably should have won more Champions Leagues, but he won every single honour. Never mind the 5 Premier League titles, the 3 League Cups, every single honour, even that Europa League at the end under Jose Mourinho as the Manchester United captain. He did it. And he's proved it. And I tell you something, if you speak to any of his teammates with Manchester United or England, as I do regularly, they loved him. They absolutely loved him. He is right up there on a pedestal for them. And they too get frustrated by some observers, some supporters not giving him the credit that he deserves. And let's hope now he's finished playing that people can reflect on, of his generation, the greatest, or certainly in your mind, Greg, one of the greatest. And of course, the DAZN viewers can now follow his managerial career very closely with Derby County in the English Championship in the EFL, only on DAZN.